So how is the social media driving the industry? It is one of the preferred mediums for the consumers we are looking at. Easier to connect with brands which are socially active and interactive. Consumers rely on various reviewing sites like Zomato, online ordering websites, Foodpanda, and I think today anybody who's going to try out a new restaurant goes online, sees the reviews, and then decides if he or she wants to go to the restaurant. We at Lightbite Foods are doing our small bit. I think we can do much more in adopting to social media. So just for example, like our Punjab Gold page on Facebook, we put about 30 posts per month. There are about 52,000 plus fans out there on that page, which is very small to start with, but I think that's important for us to move that forward. Similarly, our Baker Street has about 21 posts every month, and growing. So people are looking at social media to make decisions and then consumptions, and also to look at it to talk to people socially about food, and there are a lot, as you know, there are a lot of food critics, food blogs, which have become very important in this channel. A slide on combos and add-on. Food service operators, especially restaurant chains, have realized that the sales growth is triggered by consumers' tendency to make impulse purchases. Side dishes and add-ons help initiate such purchases. At the same time, side dishes usually have lower costs and therefore higher contribution, not only to sales but also to the bottom line. The need to improve sales, despite the ever-increasing competition and the fact that the sides are used to boost the average check size or APC, has encouraged food service operators to give equal, if not more importance in getting the right mix of side offerings that match the core product and also suit the palate of their target group. We at Punjab Grill have realized the same and in other things, and we've introduced something like a masala papad. And you'll be amazed that since we introduced that product, our sales in each outlet has gone up by 2 lakhs a month in the Delhi NCR. So that's the kind of importance an add-on or a side offering should be in some of your restaurant chain. Healthy offerings and healthy lifestyles are becoming the in thing, or people like to be perceived healthy. So organic foods, natural extracts have also found a niche within the food service industry, with a widening consumer base, especially in the premium formats. This increasing popular of frozen yogurt concept is one of the examples, and brands like Coco Berry, Red Mango, Yogurt Berry are expanding their menus to give more and more multiple healthier offerings. The challenge is the premium pricing of such ingredients, which tend to increase the raw input costs for food service operators. These have to be used and passed on to the consumers or absorbed, with the impact having lower margins. So gluten-free food is an innovative gourmet food that is being now, a lot of people are getting into it, because there is a lot of people who are suffering from the celiac disease, and therefore the move towards these kind of food. Low-fat food has always been in top of consumers' mind, and a lot of restaurants today are looking at low carbohydrate offerings, sugar-free desserts, low-fat foods, no corn syrup, olive oils as a base. So that's on the low-fat foods. Organic foods, and only yesterday I put a question on my Facebook on organic foods, and I had about 50 comments on it and how it's going to change the industry. I think according to some of the experts, analysts, it is growing at a CAGR of 22%. Whole grains that have also been seen an increase in focus, be it barley, ragi, bajra, some of these grains which are coming up and becoming popular in the premium restaurant chains. One of the key factors contributing to this market growth is the increased number of the health consumers, and people want to be perceived to be healthy. So the taste of organic fruit and vegetables are actually more superior, and therefore people are looking at promoting them as high on taste. Another part, which is an interesting trend in the health offerings, is this farm to table or farm to table fresh dining concept, which is becoming popular in US and UK, and I think some of the companies are doing it here, where basically you try and promote all the vendors, all the farmers around the area, and you try and make food from what is locally grown rather than coming in food, the cold chains and so on and so forth. So every day the menu changes. Today you make chicken, tomorrow you make pork, or in terms of vegetable, today you have this vegetable, you make that, or next day you have okra, you make that. So that's the concept in the healthy offering, which I see maybe coming a big way. One other thing which I talked about, and here I want to spend a little bit of time on microbreweries. I think Indians have not seen microbreweries the way it has been in our Western counterparts. Indians tend to like to drink beer, but I think the beer which we get is more in a bottle format, which is 4 or 5 months old, and due to our lack of good supply chain, good cold chain, after 4 or 5 months when we get it, we don't know what temperature differences it has gone through. So the taste is not as good as a fresh beer is supposed to taste. So microbreweries have now started coming up in at least around the bigger metros, like in Gurgaon, Pune, Bangalore, Chandigarh, where the microbreweries have come up. This is also where the population is more IT, more hip, more younger population which live, and they can come and pay a little bit higher price for the beer, for the taste. And I think this will also become a new phase of companies to follow, companies to have, and there are a lot of international players who are looking at this market in the microbrewery business. On the innovative food presentation, I think new age fusion food is emerging as a buzzword, and again, like Ritu pointed out, that any US chain coming into India needs to tweak their product to suit the Indian environment. It's not a cut and paste job. I think McDonald's clearly saw that, and they did the aloo tikki burger. In a lot of Western areas, people are flirting with doing Japanese with Peruvian, Japanese with Thai, those kind of fusions. So I think that thing would catch up also a little bit of India, because we like the Indian taste in a lot of our foods, and you have seen some of the pizza operators doing chicken tikka pizza or doing sea kebab pizza. But I think that can go to another level, because I've been reading somewhere somebody was trying to do a wasabi aloo tikki for their thing. So I think fusion and a little bit of Japanese fusion will probably be a growth area and the industry trend going forward. On the sustainability thing, it's about restaurants managing the social and environment impact of their operations. Committing to sustainability means the restaurant can make a huge difference on issues such as climatic change, animal welfare, and food waste. I think all of us understand that what we are taking from the environment, we need to in some way give back. So this will become a big thing for us as restaurateurs, because we need to give back to the environment all the produce, or grow more and more and more, so that we're not hampered. I think in this sustainability, we talked about, also we can talk about technology. I think we in Lightbite have introduced SAP in our system. So our sales is connected to all the way to the end of purchase, of inventory management, and operations. So we have a clear picture on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, of what is the consumption, what is the sale, and therefore what is the food cost. And if you want to grow in a bigger way in more and more restaurants, and to standardize, you have to adapt to some kind of ERP system to take it to the next level. So I think on a newer destination, again, Ritu talked about Cyber Hub, and while malls and high streets have been the traditional location for F&B outlets, a new breed of food-centric destination is emerging. but, and they're popularly known as food hubs. They typically have zero or negligible retail entertainment quotient, and in turn, these locations depend more on commercial and residential catchments. So we talked about Cyber Hub, and I think some of these food hubs are also very popular in the airport. Over the past few years, Indian aviation has seen a lot of twists and turns. However, airline traffic in India has only been registering a very high growth. The increase in traffic has necessitated the growth of infrastructure in the form of new airports, bigger terminals, more F&B offerings, and therefore making it into more food and beverage hub where people come and eat. We can see that in the Delhi airport, we can see that at Mumbai airport. I think 20 years ago, there was no offering of food in Delhi, and therefore there was no sale. Today, you'd be amazed at the kind of sales people like us do at the airport level itself is probably much, much better off than some of the malls. I think our Prime Minister has talked about railways, and hopefully our railway stations will be like the Liverpool station or the King's Cross station in the UK, and we are looking forward to that. And I think that is something as a new destination which will come up. Metros in Delhi, Bombay have already come up, and we have some of our stores there. But also look out for metros also, because people are consuming on the go. So a little bit on the restaurant industry and challenges and the barriers. So of course, one of the biggest one which we all are working with is the food price inflation. So while the past 5 years we've seen an inflation of it being very high and average prices of over even 10%, food inflation has been over about 20% in November 2013, which was the highest contributor to the overall inflation rate of India at 7.52. The average increase in energy cost this year has also been more than 11%. So these are some of the barriers. I think we talked, I haven't touched on to it, but in a couple of interviews, we talk about manpower. I think manpower is the biggest issue in this industry. When I say manpower, it's more trained manpower. To get somebody as a chef level, at the server level, because the salaries there are very low, and they tend to change because there are new formats which are coming up. Of course, real estate seems to be a challenge. I always joke that I think we actually earn for the real estate owners and the banks, because they take about 30% of the margins. So we are left controlling the food costs and the manpower costs, so there's not much left for entrepreneurs like us. But again, real estate is a challenge, and I think going forward, we have to really look into the right real estate at the right price going forward for this industry to grow. I think in India, licensing, as you all know, is a problem. Liquor sourcing is a problem. I think there is a lot of anti-liquor laws. Kerala going to go into a non-alcoholic kind of state. All these keeps on happening, which is a challenge for restaurateurs like us. If you look at the kind of licenses which other countries need, like Turkey only need 2 licenses, China 4, and for us the list is never ending. We all grow up with food safety license, health rate license, eating house license, liquor license, playing of music or entertainment license, environment clearance, NOC from fire department, lift license, insurance, short-term establishment act, signages license. So where are we going to stop? So I think people like us need to work and the government to try and get this red tape a little bit lesser. And also, I think we all are struggling with the tax regiment also. So we, our tax element is, the one I missed out was we work for the government, we work for the banks, and we work for real estate, because the tax element is close to 25%. So I think the industry suffers from supply chain assessment, management, strategy, inventory and warehouse, cold chains, marketing and procurement planning, maintaining consistency in quality and service or standardization, which we discussed, rapid expansion of foreign players. I can go on and on like this too, but I think I need to stop somewhere here. So I just want to thank you very much for listening to me and giving me a patient hearing.